Hey you guys. So I wanted to talk today about the Maui wildfire. Why I want to talk about it is just because I think as the days have gone on, we've learned a little bit more. And so I want to talk about, I think, everything involving it in case some people just don't know. And then if you wish to donate, I will have a link in the description for multiple organizations that you could donate to. You do not have to. It's not something I'm not forcing you to. It's just option. And then I want to talk about things following the wildfire, different events that have kind of followed suit, what people, homeowners, the locals are facing now. So I just kind of want to talk about everything. I'm really, I'm not here to speak on my thoughts on a lot of stuff. If I do, I'll let you know when that's going to happen, because some of these items, it's not really, I feel my place to do some of that. But if I do, I'll let you know. Um, but yeah, when it comes to the Maui wildfire, the thing is, Maui does get wildfires. The Time article that I have attached in the description talks about the different statistics. You do have man-made fires, you do have just natural fires. And so when it comes to a natural fire, it does get hot in Maui. They have dry land. And so they are still trying to determine, was this a natural fire or was something else the cause of it? There have been some talks that potentially a power line was down. So, if that was the case, they're still looking into that. That's something that is still being determined, because we've talked around here, because my significant other, he has family that lives actually close to Lahaina, and so when this event happened, we've been sitting here like, okay, why did the fire start? Like, it really has not been like, yes, it was this. At least last time I've read. At least last time I've heard or looked, which was the other day, yesterday. So far from what I know, we don't know. But that same day, on August 8th, they were experiencing very high winds. So a Category 4 storm was essentially kind of headed in their direction, and they were under a wind advisory. They were experiencing winds of 61 to 80 miles per hour, which helped spread the flames very, very far. And since they were under a wind advisory, children were sent home. Parents were not, just children. Maui also has I'll say like not an alarm system, but think like the tornado sirens. If you have like a storm coming up, it's essentially that warning system, like, hey, something's coming, we have a storm, seek shelter, go take the necessary precautions to, be safe. And from the USA Today article, essentially what is being said, why those sirens were not turned on is based on the procedure that they have in place. Once those sirens turn on, the locals are told you are to head to the mountains. You kind of head up closer to an elevated area for safety. If they were to turn on the sirens, supposedly from the individual in charge, more people would have been hurt. There would have been more casualties instead of kind of what we have currently. So that is essentially the reasoning that we have for the sirens not being turned on. Another, I would say, additional piece of information that we have in regards to the fires and how far they spread was the fire hydrants. Once the firefighters were kind of notified of the fire, they, were going to put it out. A lot of the fire hydrants were not working. The water systems were not working properly, and so with that, the fire hydrants were not giving out water. So fire is able to spread. With that, people, you've got to find a place to essentially, I wouldn't say be safe, but that is appropriate. So people were heading to the ocean. If they had a boat, they were taking their boats out. If they didn't, they were just heading out into as far as they could into the ocean with some sort of floatable item. For one story that I heard, a group of people were sharing a piece of plywood, and they were hanging on to that plywood for a few hours. Now, as as time kind of went by, fire's contained. It's not gone, it's contained, but now you have the citizens of Lahaina kind of dealing with everything after the fire. What they're kind of dealing with. I would say currently, there's been a lot of talk in regards to tourism. Tourists who are already there, because Lahaina is a very popular destination within Maui, they are being sent somewhere else. They were being sent, to other islands, potentially home, if they wanted to maybe cut their trip early. Because the thing is, one, the locals need resources. They need a place to stay. A lot of homes and buildings were destroyed, and resources now need to be allocated out appropriately. And two, when it comes to situations like this, you don't need kind of another, I don't want to say added factor, but if a tourist were to get hurt or somehow stuck in the damage, that's just another thing that's just another kind of added thing that they just don't need to deal with right now. So, tourists are being sent elsewhere. Now it's the situation of tourists who were maybe going to come in. And that's where, residents are saying, hey, please don't come. And it's not the situation of, like, you can never come ever again. It's right now is just not the time. And this is probably the one area that maybe that I will say more so my thoughts on. I do get where, yes, it's an inconvenience. Like, no one planned for this to happen. Like, but the thing is you really have to put yourself in their shoes. If you were the one in that situation, would you be like, oh yeah, please come on down? Like, I'm pretty sure if, you just went through a very traumatic event, your home burnt down, maybe your friends, your family, the place in which you have grown up is now gone. It would be a very traumatic experience, and especially too, you are on such a, it is a very small place, and so it's something where you can't just be like, oh, well, I could drive three, it's not like a Texas. It's not, it's one of those things where you can't just try and go elsewhere. It's a very different situation. So if there is the possibility of, you know, switching it out, booking a different trip, see if that's a possibility. Because you just have people that, have just really gone through something, and I can about bet, if you've gone through the same thing, you would also feel the same way. And so that's where, if we're going, into what the homeowners are experiencing, the locals, like I said, they are grieving in some way, shape, or form. You have people who have lost family, lost friends, lost their home, lost their possessions. The home, the things that were familiar to them are now gone. It's something where it, it's grieving, and now it's, you have this situation that occurred, and now it's just kind of, oh, not saying you have to move forward now, but you don't really have the time at times to just sit there and, at least from what I think and kind of from what I've seen, you're having situations where you're kind of combing through stuff and potentially starting to, start over. So it's almost like you're pushing through, and so they're grieving. They're going through it. They're also getting, one of the articles that I have is from Newsweek. They're getting calls from investors, saying, hey, I'll give you money for, your home. And all of them are saying, hey, we're not interested. And they're going to say that. A lot of them have no interest in moving. That is their home. They have no interest in going elsewhere. They have no connection elsewhere. It's kind of very similar to, I think, anyone else in a very similar circumstance. It's not a situation where, again, you were planning on this to happen or that you wanted to move. For many, they don't want to leave. They want to stay, and they've said, they plan to rebuild Lahaina, kind of make it, I wouldn't say new, but rebuild it to what it was, and make it their own. And so I think, them coming together as a community, it's going to be, I don't want to say a good experience, but it's going to be almost what it was, maybe. But then you have, I think, a lot of other things, again, with the resources. They're currently, gas is one where that's very limited. Resources, I think, just in general, I think, are very limited. So they're just kind of taking what they can when it comes to donations and what people can give. And so it's been nice when, I follow different pages through, from Hawaii. And so, different chefs there, they've been coming together and cooking meals, and different shops and everything, like, have been donating, and they've been coming together, as a community and everything, and helping out. So it's been good to see. And so it's going to take time, though, I'm sure. And as time goes on, we're going to learn more. And the toll is just going to keep going up. They're not even done. It's upsetting. Um, but the one thing I can say is, you know, if you do have someone that you do know in Maui, or you live in Maui, you know, we're always thinking of you. Hope you're doing well, trying to, you know, get through it and everything. Um, and, you know, if anyone has any additional thoughts, or anything else that they want to say, please feel free to leave that down below. Or if you know of any additional organizations that are helping that maybe are not in the article that I have, please feel free to share those as well. And I will talk to y'all later. Bye.